Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Hoping you can hear me. So, it's Tuesday, which means it is me. I'm Kay. I am the Inner Bloom host. And I'm so excited today because we are doing something different. Switching it up, that's the word I was looking for. So today, instead of meeting one of the coaches, we are celebrating faceless marketing. So we are celebrating one of our faceless bloomers called Elodie, and she is a hybrid girly here on Instagram. So I'm just going to request her to join now. Talk literally from other sides of the earth. I absolutely love it. So I get to meet amazing women every single week. Oh, it's so good. Everyone's joining. Hey.
Hey, I just look like an emoji right now.
You do. It's like you know that film. What's it called? The Emoji Film, the Emoji Movie.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like-
It sucks. It sucks. I have a good reason to be faceless, I promise. It's not that I don't want to like put my face out there or anything like that, but
well, don't worry. We can edit that part out if when Sammy uploads it. Don't worry.
okay,
But we
that's
are
great.
live. We are live, so that's cool. So it's lovely to meet you, Elodie. So you're over in Canada, and I just introduced you to everyone as one of our bloomers. So you are an ambassador here with us at Inner Bloom, just like myself. And we are celebrating you because you have just joined your fifth year bloomy
Yeah.
into Inner Bloom. That's just like
Oh,
amazing.
I have
So congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, I have goosebumps when you said that. I actually didn't really from time to time I kind of go on my Stan store and I kind of look and see like what's selling best, just so I can kind of pivot my business that way and just see if there's something that I need to work on. And for the heck of it, I was like, okay, I'm going to add up, all my courses and see what's going on. And then I approached 48 and I was like in the midst of talking to someone who I knew was going to join that night. I think she's actually online right now watching this live.
Yay.
And then someone else at like 4 a.m. my time, I guess it was 4 p.m. They're in Australia. They ended up being my 50th Bloomy. And it's so funny because my husband was like, "Why are you awake?" It's 4
Celebrating.
at 4 I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I'm talking to people from like all over the world. Like I can't help it. I'm just so excited. So um yeah,
Was
that's
that the lady there?
yeah,
SAH Mompreneur Community. Was
say
that our
that.
50th member?
Yeah, that's her. Yeah, she was my 49th. My
But
50th, I mean, so my 50th right now, I think is probably sleeping. It's probably 1 p.m. in or 1 a.m. in Australia. I'm not really sure. So, uh,
amazing. So
yeah.
welcome to the community, Stay at Home Mum. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself and Elodie. I love your name, and I had to message you before just to make sure I get the pronunciation right because
Yeah.
I love to make sure I get people's names right. So Elodie is an absolutely beautiful
Thank
name. So
you.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
I I don't even know, like, how do you tell someone about yourself? I am a very independent, extroverted, full of life girl who owned her own business prior to joining digital marketing about 6 years ago. But then unfortunately I suffered some major injuries from a car accident that is not allowing me to. I used to do wedding photography full time, so I'm lucky if I can kind of hold a fork most days. Like I'm not able to hold my camera. So after building my own business for 15 years, from like when I was like 15, 16, shooting weddings every weekend, everything kind of came to a screeching halt for me. Um, and I ended up like suing the person who hit me, and lo and behold, lawyers tell you it'll take 2 or 3 years. Well, 6 years later, here I am.
Oh no,
Um,
bless you.
Still in a lawsuit. Still, that's mainly why I'm like faceless, because there's like,
Oh, right, okay.
yeah. So when people are always like kind of putting faceless accounts down, I'm like, but you don't really understand the story. Like let kind of give people a chance to understand like what their story is, because truly, like if I could be face forward, I would be.
You
Like there is something.
will. You
Yeah,
will in time when the
yeah.
time's right. We'll
Right now, I'm just
see
like
that
I'm just
beautiful face.
yeah, I'm just a pixelated girly right now, but it'll come. It'll come all due time. But So yeah, so for 6 years I sat at home with no purpose, no job, in chronic pain, while my husband was working like 12-hour shifts day and night. Everything was suffering. Like our marriage was suffering, our income was suffering, all these things were happening. COVID happened, right? Like everyone got hit left, right, and center. I think everyone's suffering from something. So yeah, and I came across digital marketing from a friend that I actually know in person for like the last 9 years. And I was watching her journey over on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, like there has to be some kind of way that I can do something like this faceless where I don't show my identity. But at the time, everything was kind of blowing up on TikTok. And then I had the idea of, because I follow so many theme pages on mindset, and like that's the niche that, I was trying to encompass myself in this world. I was like, well, why don't I just start a theme page that also talks about my story? And then initially that was just for me to pass the time, right? I was like, I need to keep my own anxiety and depressions in check, and I need to find a way to pass the time. So I started an Instagram page. Um, and
How
yeah,
long ago was that?
so I started, yeah, that would be smart to say. I initially started, I would say like January 1st of 2024,
So that was
is
this
when everything, yeah,
year.
that's when
No
everything took,
way.
yeah. So that's kind of how I got here. I chose the name Hybrid Girly because initially, like my niche, I wanted to talk about being an extroverted introvert because I was too afraid to talk about what I was experiencing and facing in my life. Like it was really heavy, right? Like 2023 nearly killed me, if I'm honest. There wasn't much that I had left, and I had a little voice in my head that said, but you're meant for something else. Like there has to be something out there. I went and I saw a Reiki healer, and she said, you have to, like, your spirit guides are basically saying the accident happened for you, not to you. So you need to stop being a victim to it.
Wow.
And that was a light switch in my head. I'm like, that is true. Like I'm feeding this monster over and over again. Like nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So something
So
has
true.
to be the catalyst of like a decision that you're changing. So for me, it was a mindset page on Instagram. I'm like, I need something to keep my spirits up, and I'm happy to post, like quotes and reels and things like that. And then eventually I said, okay, why don't I actually look into what digital marketing is, what the courses offer, what do I feel aligned with? And then I believe it was around February when Inner Bloom went MRR. And
Yeah.
I heard about Inner Bloom prior, and I was still kind of finishing up my therapy, if I'm honest. And then I couldn't afford therapy anymore. And it was around the same couple of weeks that I decided I'm going to stop therapy and try to figure it out on my own for a little bit, right? I'm going to start looking up, because I was also suffering from nocturnal panic attacks. I ended up in the hospital 4 or 5 times because of panic attacks that I thought were heart attacks. So like I was dunking my face in like ice water every single night. My husband was with me. Like, I'm like, you don't need to do this. Like, you're not anxious, But we are in the kitchen together, like we're dunking in ice water, trying to do that, to shock our vagus nerve. So all of these things were happening, and I sat down, and Inner Bloom came out with MRR, and I said, you know what? Like, if I join this academy, because I'm already trying to research online on how to like self-soothe in a way, how to figure out my anxieties, my panic attacks, my mental health. I do much better if I go step by step. Like, here's a module on this, go watch it, check it off. Here's a module on this, go watch it, check it off. So I'm like, I'm going to take a chance. I hadn't made any money really at that point. I took the last bit of savings I had, and I bought Inner Bloom. And
I love that.
I was like, oh my gosh, like this, it's almost like the universe heard me say, like, my head is scrambled, but I'm willing to do this on my own. Just give me some kind of path that I can follow.
And then Inner Bloom came into your life.
Inner Bloom, yeah. That's basically how, it sounds long and winded, but yeah, now that I look back on it and I say it out loud, like that's really kind of how it started for me.
Wow. And how did you find going from like the therapy to finding Inner Bloom? Has like anything shifted? Because then therapy over here in the UK isn't that much talked about.
Yeah.
It's not at all. I know in America and Canada it's a lot more like everyone has a therapist, whereas in England it's like a taboo subject.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people say that sometimes when you're in therapy, kind of they just like talk,
Yeah.
kind of go over the trauma and like
Yeah.
resurface it and talk over it. Whereas like I'm a coach, so I know the difference. Like with a coach, we want to get you from A to B. We want to shift you out of that, like you said, that victim mindset. So how did you find Inner Bloom compared to therapy? Like, did it shift you maybe something like differently
Yeah.
to therapy?
Okay. So for me, therapy, like it was very helpful. However, being like my hands are tied at the moment, you know, because there's moments where like I have private investigators who watch me leave my house and they say to my lawyers, like, what do you mean she has depression? We have footage of her smiling at the dog park. And it's like
Oh my
kind of
gosh.
things that I'm getting bombarded with. And it's like I'm going to therapy and I'm having someone listen to me. And as much as therapy helps, the triggers of retelling that trauma over and over
Yeah.
again and having to say it out loud, because like thank God, honestly, I have all my limbs still, but the nerve damage that I suffer from all over my body, like um at first I kept saying to my therapist, oh, it's so stressful, this event that happened. And she kept saying it's actually trauma, like it's traumatic. At the end of the day, you were incredibly independent, you had 2 jobs, like everything was taken away from you. So going from therapy to Inner Bloom, I actually quite liked it because like I said, I had to switch. I couldn't find the right therapist. I went through 4 therapists, and as long as like they were nice people, don't get me wrong, and they were super helpful, but I just wasn't aligning, and I always felt like misaligned. And I'm like, I'm gonna give you my all, and I want to give you everything I have, but I would always end up the call and say, I mean, that was fine, I guess, and I wasn't satisfied with the answer. That was fine, I guess, and I'm also paying so much money for it, right? So going into Inner Bloom and having the responsibility of purposely like waking up each morning and saying, okay, today I'm going to try to meditate. I've never meditated in my life. I've never manifested in my life. I have a hard time journaling. Actually, one of the girls that's watching right now, like I told her the other day, she's trying to get me to journal. And like, even after 8 months, okay, of Inner Bloom, I'm still working through the traumas that I'm doing because it's hard for me to like let it all out. But
Yeah.
the responsibility and accountability of having a place to go each morning to say, I'm taking the action to go and press play on a workshop or to go and read a PDF or do some kind of breathing exercise. I think it gives you a lot more power to the healing that you're trying to go through because you're doing it yourself. It's not like
Yeah.
I have to, like before I would feel like I have to do therapy because I paid for it and that's a waste of money. But I'm not going to lie, majority of the time, I didn't feel like I was excited to go and work through my
Yeah.
healing, right?
It's the
And
energetic side of it, isn't it, as well? Because if you're just thinking, oh my God, I've got therapy again today,
yeah,
you're not in the right energy. And if you're not aligned with the therapist, that's more energy that's out of alignment. Whereas if Inner Bloom, like people say that you can get overwhelmed with Inner Bloom, but I always say to my ladies that join, just go like, where are you feeling called? Like, trust your intuition. I literally can watch Self Concept one day and then listen to the beats another day, and it's just like you can just go in and just go where you feel called. It's totally up to you, isn't it? And there's so much to choose from.
and that's actually one of my, and I don't want to say it's selling points, but like I say to people all the time, I'm like, listen, like I'm not going to lie to you. Like transparency with me, transparency, integrity, honesty, like these are core values that I always will stand on. And I say to them, it can get overwhelming the second you get in there because there is a lot of information, but the point
Yeah.
of that, you go directly to where you feel called. I say that all the time. I'm like, go
Yeah.
to want to learn about the most. It's something that solidifies your thoughts on something already because you're already doing it and you know you're doing it right. Or maybe it's something brand new, right? Like for me, it was the first thing I ran to was like the breathing techniques and things like that. And then afterwards, I started slowly trickling into the manifestation and things that I wanted to learn about that I genuinely, I'm not going to lie, I was like, this is woo woo. Like and it's really hard because for 6 years, like before that, I was a whole different person. And for 6 years, I lost myself into this negative loop. So, and then I started opening up my mind and inner bloom, and hearing Sammy speak all the time. I say to her all the time, I'm like, you're such an eloquent speaker. Like everything just flows like a river out of you. Um, and I just start, it's true. Like, why should the universe give you something if you're not looking at it in like an abundance type of positive way, right? So something like the platform of Inner Bloom is the opportunities of it is huge. It's huge. You could get into Inner Bloom just for me, just for like healing like I am. And then the other day I had a thought, I'm like, maybe I can be some kind of coach, like, but I never had that thought like 8 months ago when I started. So yeah.
Yeah, that's because you're healing the layers. And like I say to everybody, your pain, turn your pain into your power. So one day when you are at that level of feeling ready, you will have this, like you say, this epiphany. You'll be like, oh my God, that's what I'm on this planet to do. Like Sammy is on this planet to bring us all together, to create this platform. And we're all here for a reason. It's just, we've just got to wait for it to click one day.
Yeah, and you really truly never know when it will click. It just kind of happens randomly. Like I was talking to a few girls and I said, like I kind of already knew, like, yes, I went from extroverted introverts. That's who I was talking to. And I was like, I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty much like the whole world. So we need to narrow that down. Like, who do I identify with? And the more I started posting quotes and things like that, that helped me in my story, the more I was starting to open up. So then I went to faceless marketing for like anxious girls, right? Like people who may not necessarily want to go face forward all the time for whatever the reason is. And that worked really well for me for a couple of months until literally like a month and a half ago, I was like, no, like I am on this healing transformation journey, and I'm bringing that in my captions. I'm bringing that in my anchors, like all my videos and everything is telling me that I need to now talk to people who are healing from some sort of trauma, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you also can't do something else while you're doing that. Like there's this belief that it's almost like you have to be not paralyzed, but into this like narrow mindset of I need to focus so much on healing, I can't do anything
Yeah,
else, like because it's such a big job. Well, let me break it to you. You're gonna be healing for the rest of your life. Like there
it's a
is no
journey.
there's no like end of the line for you, unless one day God takes you kind of thing.
Yeah,
But like that's it.
yeah,
You're
so
constantly
true.
but yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up through kind of like narrowing down my niche and who I'm talking to. And truly that's what's helped me being like really successful with Inner Bloom.
Yeah. Was that the kind of switch that kind of where it really took off for you? Because obviously you've just signed your 50th member. So like, was there a point in, for all the ladies out there that are thinking, oh, I really do want to try this digital marketing, but I don't want to put my face forward. Like what could give them some like inspiration? What was it that really like made it like boom for you? What was the point?
Um, okay, every single, especially because of everything we've gone through in the last like half a decade, every single person just wants connection and they want to be understood. The more that I open up in my own stories, I'm getting DMs from people and I hear stories and I'm like, wow, like I thought I went through something, like how are you surviving? And it gives me a little bit of imposter syndrome. It gives me a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
But whatever happens with anyone, like something's always happening with someone, so you can't all of a sudden think or see anyone either. Like let's say you're watching a big page and you're like, wow, they must have everything figured out. Most likely not. Most likely, unfortunately, they're probably broken in some kind of way and they're kind of also working through their crap.
Yeah.
um so I think being vulnerable and especially faceless, right? Because faceless is a little bit harder to get that like and trust factor. Um,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, right. People are like, well, this is scammy. Who am I talking to? Like two or 3 weeks ago, I was talking to an account for a couple hours, and then they all of a sudden were sending me voice notes, and it's a dude, and I'm like, okay, that was weird. Like, but running a successful account, and he's like, it's hard to run like a faceless, man account because there's not enough stuff out there for men, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So vulnerability is huge in this space. People just want to feel connected. They want to see that they have something in common with you, and they want to be heard and put at ease.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Obviously, we're all here to make money, but it should never come at the expense of not listening to someone's story enough, not listening to what their goals are, what their needs are in this space. I was talking to someone this morning that was like, you're the first person who's ever made me think about Inner Bloom, like actually want it, but I don't know if it's right for me. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it, right? Like, it doesn't have to be right for everyone, and that's okay. Maybe it's not right for you right now, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to know what the Academy entails. Obviously, Sammy keeps adding and adding and adding. So it's like one of those things that it's never ending. But I think it's important to go through enough modules and actually apply it to your life, because you have the arsenal to say, hey, every night I go and I do these breathing techniques that I learned from Inner Bloom, or every morning I wake up and I manifest, even if it's on your notepad on your phone. It doesn't have to be in a journal. And I've done this for so and so time. And eventually, like, again, with the woo-woo, like the universe will respond. And then you'll be able to use that in your, like, toolbox to say, it responded and this is what's happening for me. Like, as soon as I stepped into my story and I said, like, it's really hard to talk about depression. It's really hard to talk about being extremely, like, strong mentally, and one day you decide that you want to end it all. Like, that's really hard to be open about, especially online with trolls and all these things. But you kind of have to sometimes jump in the deep end and know that the universe has your back.
Yeah.
And the second I did that, I'm telling you, the second I did that, it's like the floodgates opened. Like, the opportunities for me right now are kind of going out of control, and it's hard for me to keep up. And it's one of those things where you want all this abundance, right? Like, everyone wants all the money and the freedom and all the travel and all the luxury stuff. But it's like, if someone gave you that tomorrow, are you ready for it?
Can you handle it? Yeah.
Handle it, right? Or are you going to go and blow? Like, if you if 10 grand next month, are you going to go blow it on useless things? Or are you ready? Do you know enough to, like, invest it somewhere or put some aside for a rainy day, like an emergency fund?
Yeah.
Like, are you things that are happening?
Or feel worthy to receive. I think that's a big one, isn't it? That's why people blow it or lose it, because they haven't worked on that worthiness, feeling worthy and feeling enough to receive it. And then they're like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And then you go back into that shame cycle.
Yeah.
That's why doing the inner work is so important.
Yeah. And again, it's always going to be evolving. And what I was, quote unquote, marketing about Inner Bloom like 5-6 months ago is not what I'm marketing about it now. I think, especially with, like, my mentoring lately, I've been talking to all of these women, and I'm like, listen, like, you need to make some sort of impact. Your page, especially if you're faceless, you have to stand for something. You have to be, like, really confident in it, and you have to make some sort of impact. Whether you're helping people, or, like, you're talking to people, you're giving free advice, you're giving free mentoring, you're giving free education, there has to be some sort of reason why someone will come back to you, because they see the authenticity in you. But you can't get to that point without the vulnerability, right?
Definitely. And I think as well, because I trained as a coach first, I got into digital marketing like a year ago now, and I always went face forward. But then, like, at the end of last year, faces started kicking off, like really getting popping. I thought, this isn't going to last, because I'm trained as a coach, like you say, that know, like, and trust. I thought, people aren't going to be able to trust you. I get people messaging me now, and I'm like, do I trust him? Is it a scam? Is it? Because you do get these people that are trying their luck, which are quite a few of them that you have to be really careful of. But then it's like you say, you've got to build that trust. You've got to get a bit vulnerable and share your story, and, like you say, stand for something. And the accounts like you that are still around and still doing amazing, it's just like, I love to watch them. And it's like, you can, like, everyone can do this. And that's why I love Inner Bloom so much, because it gives you the inner work. But then also, women, we're here to be rich, we are here to be wealthy.
Yeah.
Like, we are so worthy of being wealthy, and it gives you the opportunity to do both. And so to hear your, like, how well you've done with it, and to introduce 50 amazing women to Inner Bloom, and on a faceless account as well, is just bloody brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. And you know what I'm not gonna lie, like it was really hard at first because I'm like, I don't want, it's really scary to say your story, and it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be a traumatic story. Like it could be a general story, like maybe you decided to become a mom and then you became a mom and you lost your identity. And it's like, I want to be more than a mom. Like I'm put on this earth to become more than that. It doesn't diminish what I am and what I stand for, but it also doesn't mean that I can't want more, right? So that's like an example. But starting to open up and tell your story online, you will get, you will kind of run into these like small corners of your mind and being like, well, I don't want someone to think that I'm crying about it. I don't want someone to say, oh my gosh, like enough, Elodie, we get it. You were in a car accident, like whatever. I have those thoughts every single day, right? When I'm talking on my stories, like if I'm posting a slide, you know, I between all, you know, the marketing slides and all that stuff, like I do talk about, the other day I had to go for like a 3 to 4 hour mental health psychological assessment for my lawsuit. It was the fourth one that I've done since I've started, and it is so depleting. And I was honest about that, and I said, this is my story, like this is what I'm doing today. If I'm offline, if you're messaging me, like this might be why I'm not responding. And people have been really respectful, and people have been reaching out, and there's people who have been on my page since I've started, and I'm getting messages being like, I can't believe, like, you know, how far you've come and things like that. So be prepared that if you're going to open up and you're going to start talking about what makes you you, what is the substance and the core soul of like what you want to talk about on your page.
Yeah.
And it has to be more than like making wealth online. Like everyone wants to make wealth
Yeah.
online. You know what I mean? No one's
Yeah.
going to pick you out of like the deep end of a bunch of sharks and be like, you, I want to work with you because you want to make wealth online. Like, no, that's not what's going to be magnetic about you.
Yeah.
Right.
100.
So
That's where I was going to go a minute ago with that. Actually, I kind of lost my train of thought. But with the faceless, like a lot I see that were around last year when I was started, of kind of they're not around anymore, and the ones, some of them that are around have gone face forward now because
yeah,
they were struggling to get the followers, the interaction with people, because people weren't trusting them. And then that's it. And then like, you just notice like the little trends, don't you? And then they're all starting to share their story more. You can just see the trail. It's like people are catching on now. You do have to build that know, like, and trust, even if you are faceless or face forward. You've got to be open and connect, because your vibe does attract your tribe. And I love that whether you're face forward or faceless, you can find your tribe. And like you say, you connect with people every single day, and you mentor other women, and like you'll build, like there's so many ladies that have already commented on in the comments saying you're like the best mentor. And like I think this is probably the most followers we've had on a live so far. So you've obviously got such an amazing following that are interested in what you're doing, and you've built this community. So it's absolutely amazing. Do you do anything else other than digital marketing? Like, do you have, I know you said you're thinking of getting into coaching, so do you like have a mentor group that you mentor separate, or what else do you do?
yeah. So because of my passions before, like with the photography and the traveling, I did open up the content bank that
Oh,
I ended up calling the,
oh yes,
yeah, that I ended up
it's
calling,
inside in a bloom.
yeah,
Yeah.
I ended up calling the hybrid vault. So I knew that the hybrid girly was going to be like the catalyst of hybrid everything. So the hybrid vault definitely came into play. Then that's slowly what I want to do with that is the same way that Sammy's building like an ambassador worldwide. I basically want to, I'm in the process right now of finishing up some contracts with different content creators from around the world to start not advertising, so they can put their work in there, and then they kind of get a connection with like the out of world of like everyone that they're surrounded with. So I'm working on that at the moment. In terms of mentoring, basically anyone that's like kind of bought some kind of course off me, I've been helping one-on-one. I have tried the chats, but the chats, because my the foundation of what I'm talking about is vulnerability, I think that people feel a lot safer and more comfortable talking one-on-one. So that's why the chats for me, for example, like haven't done the greatest, and I'm okay with that. Like it is what it is. But ultimately, what do I see myself envisioning from my whole thing is I want to make content wellness retreats. Like I want to build a community. I want to run a community. So overall, like that's kind of where I see myself going in this space. And then with the mentoring, I am, so that this is the problem, right? Because like people see you do well online and they want to learn from you. And there's this whole wave right now that like, if you buy a course, you get mentorship from me. And there's a lot of people doing that who don't necessarily have the credentials or anything like that. So I have been asked for like 4 months now to open up the doors to help other people outside of people who buy just courses from me. But I'm not gonna lie, like, and because I've been talking about my story and my injuries, I said I'm like mentally, like, I have to be prepared to take something like that on, because I do have like post concussion symptoms, and I do crash in the middle of the day and I need like a 3-4 hour nap. And I don't want to be the type of person that schedules a phone call with someone and constantly cancels because
Yeah.
I can't keep up, right? So, but again, those things, and people are respectful of it and they're open to understanding that because I've been consistent with my story and I'm open about all of that. So everything is a spider web and everything's interconnected, and opportunities like this are going to open up definitely as soon as you kind of open the door to like your own journey. And with Inner Bloom, like what's helped me, I noticed I do have quite a few friends who run like mindset pages, like theme pages, and I know that they kind of primarily focus on just selling Inner Bloom and things like that. I was able to intertwine a theme page in a way with my business because of the niche and the mindset that I'm doing, because of the fact that it is a personal page, even if it's faceless. Like I am building a personal brand. So intertwining the two has definitely helped. I do see quite a bit of merit for people who want to run like theme pages and only, primarily advertise Inner Bloom. But even on those theme pages, if you want people to stick around after they click follow and you want them to become like a repeat customer, then you need to be a human behind the page. That's probably my biggest takeaway for people.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're, again, if you have a pixelated face, if you have someone else, if your profile picture is a tree, it doesn't matter. I don't care. But someone has to know, and the story has to be consistent and vulnerable and authentic.
Yeah. I love it.
Did that answer the question? I
Yeah.
tend to. Oh, okay.
No, that's amazing. I think I just want people to know that possibilities of this world, like you say, the world's just like opening up so many opportunities for you now from starting this. Like you have got a brand, like the Hybrid Girly is a brand. You've got the Hybrid Vault, you'll have your retreats. So it's just like just taking that step, starting to heal yourself, but then growing something out of it like you have. You've massively turned your pain and your circumstances into your power, and look at you now. You're absolutely amazing and helping so many other women as well. And I think that's the thing, isn't it, that gives you that lights up that fire in you. It's like that you're here, you've got a purpose.
Yeah.
And you're helping other women, and Inner Bloom is just mind-blowing for the amount of content that it's got in there to help other women as well, and earn money on the side and create all these other revenue streams that are possible from everything that we learn along the way. It's just like, I love it. It's just so good.
At the end of the day, everyone in Inner Bloom got it most likely for some kind of reason to try to work on themselves, right?
Yeah.
So there's something going on in every single person that's in Inner Bloom. And I think having the courage to open up, it's not easy, don't get me wrong. And it's not even about like the outside quote unquote trolls or negative people coming at you. It's about accepting what happened to you, because the second you open up about it and you tell people, you're accepting what happened to you. And it took me, I remember being in therapy and I kept saying, like, I'm constantly stuck. I get it. I have to work. I have to heal. Like, it's circumstantial, but I'm having a hard time accepting it because I can't, how do I accept the life I had before and how hard I worked at it? And someone took that away from me. Like, how do you come to an acceptance of that? Last week, I literally laid in bed and I started crying because and it's 8 months later, okay? And after all of this success and the sales and everything else, I had a moment that I said, I actually am starting to feel the fire of the girl who was. And like, it's taken me a while to get there, but even now just talking about it like makes me emotional because I was just like, my husband was snoring beside me, and I was just sitting here like tearing up, and I was just like, I'm proud. Like, holy crap, am I proud? Because I remembered the hard moments where it was incredibly hard to like see the light, you know? And I know that there's people that are starting in this digital marketing field thinking that it's going to save them. It's going to make all the money. Like, okay. And even if it does make you all the money, like, you're still going to be broken if you don't work on yourself, and you don't work on trying to figure out like what got you in this space. And it's all about mindset. It's nothing more than having that mindset. And one day it just kind of clicks for you. And if it hasn't clicked for you yet, and you're just kind of struggling, and you're just like, I can't find my footing, I'm not sure where I belong, like, just keep trekking along, because it's almost like you're constantly, sorry, I have a hard time finding my words sometimes, knocking at like a wall, and you're just like, how thick is this damn wall? Like, when am I going to get through it? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but you don't really know. You don't know if the next hit will actually get you through that wall, but something will have that breakthrough and this epiphany. And it could be within like 2 months of your journey. It could be a year. It could be 8 months, like me. Like, I don't know, you know, but
yeah. I always say we're like onions, like you say, knocking at that wall. It's healing the layers. You've just got to keep healing the layers, getting underneath, like you say, all the trauma, just healing and just doing what works for you as well. Never mind what anyone else is doing. You've got to put the blinkers on and just like really tap into you and what is it that you need with your business as well, because there's so many millions of people marketing. Like, what's your selling point? Like, why will people buy into you in your journey?
And that's what it is, because people will buy anything that you offer because you're the one doing it.
Yeah,
right,
they trust you. Yeah,
like someone came into my DMs last night, and she was like, she was asking me, I only trust your opinion, like, tell me what it is. And it's like, I've worked really hard for someone to get to that point, to say, I only trust your opinion in this space, like, tell me how it is, because I will tell them. And if they require something that I don't have in my arsenal, then it is what it is. Like, maybe they align with it and I don't, but I want something to help them. So it doesn't mean that I'm going to try to switch their mind to like sell them something myself, you know,
or put them in the direction of someone that does have the right product.
There's like, people forget that there's especially if you're on Instagram and even TikTok, there's millions of accounts being opened every single day. So it's like, again, what do you stand for? What is your impact? What is your message? Like, you got to nail that down. And after that, things will start being a bit more flowing, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, you've done absolutely amazing, Elodie. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy that everyone gets to hear and obviously know more of your story as well, because you will inspire and just empower so many women to not only just kind of do the healing, but also own their story and own, like you say, you have literally started to light up that fire and find your purpose again. And I love that for you.
Yeah.
And you just, once you do it, you start spreading it, and it starts getting like the ripple effect. Me and Sammy always talk about it. It's just that ripple effect with the whole world and that mission we're on to empower 1 million women.
Yeah.
The big mission.
Like, cool, because I remember talking to Sammy back in February, like when MOR just opened, and I literally pitched myself. Like, I put myself out there. I was like, hey, this is my name. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm about in this space. And we spent like quite a few weeks sending voice memos back and forth in like the middle of the night, you know, her time zone, my time zone. And it's just really cool to see like what she's built and how far it's coming, and the impact that it has on people like me. Like, ultimately, apart from the healing journey and what I'm working on, like, it brought money into our home, and it's able to like pay off my line of credit because of someone else's idea. Like, who's to say that anyone watching this live or anyone in the academy won't have some kind of idea that's just going, like you said, ripple effect and change and become this big thing. Like, I was messaging Sammy the other day, and I'm like, I'm crazy enough to fly to Bali just to hang out with you, because it's like, I feel like I'm meant to be there and see you.
Me too.
Hug you, you know? Yeah, I mean, it's a bit further from Canada, but
I keep saying to her, we need a retreat, Sammy. Let's organise a retreat. Just get us all together.
It
will happen.
all year. I think that's why I ultimately want to go into the retreat community aspect, because again, people just want connection. Like the online space is really great. I have met quite a few faceless accounts that do stand out, and I'm like, you know, what you're doing is really great. I love your messaging, and this is what it's all about. And when you see someone doing something that inspires you, like make sure you shoot them a message and you just say, hey, listen, like I love what you're about. I love what you're putting out there, and that's what it takes. Like it's not like I'm trying to sell you this course or this academy just to make the money. Like the connections that I've made, we're talking about relationships that I've nurtured for the last 8 months to prepare myself for what I'm coming out with, the products that I'm releasing soon. You know, it's like it's about that nurturing, and it's about the community and the love and the connection and the overall message that like literally the universe has your back as long as you're willing to feed the right monster. Like it could be a good monster, but you have to feed the right one, and you have to make that conscious you have to make that conscious decision to make a change and make an impact. And for me, I'm like, okay, like when I told Sammy, oh my gosh, guess what? Like I just sold my 50th Bloomie. I was like, she's like, that's incredible. And to me, it's not that it wasn't incredible or I didn't see it as this big thing, because I did, but it was almost like, this is going to sound arrogant, but it was almost like I expected it because of the type of work and the type of conversation and the type of help I've been putting out there. So it's like 50 sounds great. Like I want 100, you know, because that to me just means that I'm making a bigger impact. That's all it takes. Like that's all it is for me. It's not that, oh my gosh, I'm going to make another $5,000 or whatever because I'm going to sell 50 more. That's not about that.
Yeah.
But
that is part of the mission as well. We're all going to be wealthy. That's what we're all here for as well.
I still want a cottage in the Cotswolds. You know,
Yay!
my husband's English, so I want to move to Europe. Like I'm starting to have dreams again and have passions for things. And no matter like what's happened to you, I can't believe, like I want people to know that you can find your way back. Because for me, like I kept saying to my husband, like, I don't know who I'm going to be, but like I don't know if I'm ever going to be that person again. Like, how do I find what I'm supposed to be doing again? I spent 15 years chasing this one thing. So I guess it's a good lesson to always have a plan B, but again, right? Yeah. You never know what's going to happen to you.
That's it. Oh, you're amazing, Eddie. I always end my lives with a question. So have a think about this one. So if you could share one message, other than all the messages we've shared so far, which are amazing, with the women around the world, what would it be? Just one message, just to finish off the live today.
Why can't you message me on Instagram beforehand?
Just bring it on you.
One message. I think kindness always wins. I have noticed in this space that people are kind of losing the plot twist a little bit with, you know, and we're talking like digital marketing products and things like that, bundling, and oh my gosh, I lost a sale, oh my gosh, I got this. And it's not about losing a sale, right? It's not about someone buying Inner Bloom from someone else. It's about the fact that you had that conversation, you were kind enough to show someone an academy that could potentially help them. Who they connected with is not about you, right? So just first, serve before sell, be kind, be loving, you know, be authentic. And I
love that.
It was a longer message, but yeah.
I get this real feel, I don't know, I like go on energy and vibes. I just get this real feel with you that like you are part of the collective that's like healing the sister wound, because, you know, like back to the witch trials and women, like you're like healing the collective and bringing women back together to be able to trust each other, and like just to be, like you said, just to say to someone like, oh my god, your account's amazing. Like I love giving women compliments in the street, like, oh my god, your hair looks amazing today, or like that, I love that top, because we're so not used to receiving. And I just get this vibe that like you are healing, you're one of the women that have been sent to like heal the collective. You are healing the sister wound.
I can't believe you just said that. 2 points. The fact that I never understood why. Like, I think I have a good sense of style and stuff, but every time I always went out, people always said something about something. Like your name, hair, your dress, whatever. And I was like, I never really thought like it's about that magnetism that you have around you. Like I ever since the human design thing came in, I'm a generator.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, and friend was like, just take it, just take it, as I kept putting it off. And she's like, she kept telling me like, you're overworking yourself. Like the universe is already drawn to you. So that's my first point. And my second point is the Reiki healer who did say the accident happened for you, not to you, said, I have been a healer in my past few
Yeah.
lives. So,
I'm a Reiki healer too, so I
yeah,
pick
how
up
are
on
you?
vibes.
Oh my God. I don't know how I was saying Reiki or not properly, but she said to me, she's like, you have been a healer for quite a few times in your past lives. And
Yeah. It's
maybe
just
like,
remembering. That's it. You're back on this planet to remember
it's so
because
crazy.
we do.
It's so,
Yeah.
it's just so nuts. I understand tarot and astrology and all that stuff, but I'm learning obviously a little bit more. And I can't question that. How can I question that? I'm on a healing journey. I'm helping other people trying to, step into that. And then I have people like yourself or talk, like just saying things to me like we've never met in person. This is the first time
Exactly.
we just started texting a couple like hours ago. So
Yeah.
I can't question that. I have to just accept it no matter if I believe in it or not. And yeah,
Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition, your mother's instincts. Honestly, they'll never fail you. And especially if you're a generator and you've got that sacral authority like me, you've got to trust that gut feeling.
yeah,
100%.
flying thing in Inner Bloom yachts. I'm like amazed. I learned it.
Oh, thank you so much, Elodie. Is there anything you want to share before we end?
No. The only thing is, I'm actually quite excited. I want to push people to definitely focus on creating their own products, whether it is for other digital marketers or for whatever else you want to make. If you get inspired by something in Inner Bloom, but I've been working on a class about everything that we just talked about today. And I sat on it because I was misaligned. I lost kind of the plot in the middle of my journey. I was like, maybe I'm supposed to be posting about this and only talking about that and things like that. Lost the plot. I felt imposter syndrome. I felt super misaligned. I put a halt on the whole project, and I just want to say I'm really excited to start it up again, and something's going to come in the next couple of months for me. So I'm super excited about it. I'm like, now I made it public, right? Like I keep
Yeah,
saying to my friends, making all
can't
these
go back
public,
now.
and I have to kind of like own up to it. So
Amazing. Are you part of Sammy's mentorship
I am not
program? Oh, you're
actually.
not?
Can I just say, like, this is gonna sound so bad, but I sort of knew that she was doing mentorship, but then this morning I found out from someone else that she is like part of her mentor, and I'm like, I kind of want to do it. Like, I need some kind of I've never had a mentor in the space.
Yeah,
Okay, I've never had anyone teach me the ropes or show me the ropes. So, when I'm mentoring or the mentorship also that I'm opening up, it's from strictly how I align, how I've done my business. It's not for everyone. That's completely understandable. And again, you have to be okay with that, because as much as you want to be kind and you want to love everyone, it's the
yeah,
reality is you're not going to be for everyone. But do tell
exactly.
me mentorship quickly, because now I'm
I
like,
was going to say the way you just worded that, then that you kind of sat on it, but then like you're now excited. Like the women that have been on these calls with Sammy for her mentorship, she's just so good at sparking that clarity. Like I was like, do I go this way or this way with my coaching? And like I had my call with Sammy like, on Friday, and it's just just getting out of your head and talking it out. Like every coach needs a coach or a mentor. And I just think if you are stuck and you're just like putting it off and getting in your own way, like having a mentor is just takes you out, like giving someone else like you can't see your own blind spots
no.
basically, so having someone to really like pull it out, and like you're like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. So when you
Yeah.
said that, I thought you've got to be part of Sammy's mentorship because
Well,
she is
again,
amazing.
there's another sign from the universe. It's like we align so much with everything. So
Yay.
funny, right? It's like things that I didn't know about, but I'm already speaking of it. So
Yeah,
it's all about alignment for sure. I wish
exactly.
one, obviously, I want them to implement everything inside the course. Take it once, take it twice, take it 3 times. It's going to be like a lifelong thing. And I'm excited to see what is going to come from Inner Bloom. And I really hope that it's retreat soon, because I want a vacation and I just want to
Me
hug.
too. Yeah, definitely. Oh, it was so good. Like I'm meeting like all the coaches on these calls every Tuesday, and we're going to be bringing more members in as well. So you're the first member, but for me to finally meet you all face to face one day would be absolutely amazing. Like like with the energy. Imagine us all in one room. Like it would just be wow. It'd be mind blowing.
I bring a plated face next time, but it is what it is.
Yay!
Got to work with what you got. That's all it is.
Just put it out to the universe. Get this case signed
Yeah.
and sealed and delivered for you as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think next year everything will close. So
Oh, amazing.
I'm ready to, do a big reveal. Because, it's funny because I've traveled for my content stuff, and it's like I still take videos and pictures of myself in hopes that one day I'm ready to like put that content out there. So I have all these pretty places with pretty pictures and pretty dresses. I have no one to show yet. So
Oh,
it is.
bless you. Well, you can send them us in the Inner Bloom chat. We will love to see them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Elodie. I'm going to sign off, but thank you so much for joining me. It was lovely to meet you.
Thank
Have an
you.
amazing day. See